This episode of Nuff Said is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
In a world of heroes and monsters, one group of special individuals stand as our shield against the dangers that lurk in the night. They are the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Nuff said. Hey folks, welcome once again to the Nuff Said podcast, Southgate Media's classic and only for a limited time Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast. I'm your host, Charlie the Professor Esser, and with me, as is the norm, my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Welcome, Mozz. Thank you for joining us once again. Tonight's episode, Collision Course, Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Season 6, Episode 9, There's no time for the team to play catch-up when there's a planet to save. Our director this week is Sarah Boyd. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, of course, get those based on Marvel Comics spy credits. Joss Whedon gets our created by, along with Jed Whedon and Marisa Tancharan. That's Jed's wife, also a brilliant actress and writer. Oh yes, that's the whole. It's a very family affair. The Whedons got Joss.
That's cool.
Did the I'm Joss Whedon, and then Jed said, I will do the work, and Marissa said, and get to work, and I'll help you too, because they're all friends working together. Big happy family. Gotta appreciate these people. Aiden Bagdachi gets our written by this week. James C. Oliver and Sharia Oliver get our executive story editor credits together. And who are they lording it over with their executive story editor credits? Why, none other than the hardest working man in show business, our regular story editor, founder of the Planet Kitson, George Kitson. We love you, George. You are the best. Okay. Now tonight's episode. Wow, tonight's episode. So for those who don't, there's a big thing that no one noticed in this episode, which is the most shocking revelation, which I'll get to at the end. But man, because I was doing my rewatch today, I'm like, wait, what? So we're gonna talk about that in just a moment. But first, let's talk about where we are. Now, last time we left our happy heroes, Sarge had teleported back to the Zephyr, had taken over the Zephyr, left poor Snowflake, Deke,
in the welcoming arms of Deke.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Deke's a good guy, and not for nothing. Here's what I'm going to say about Deke. You know, everyone says, oh, she's a serial killer. She's crazy. It's like, Deke grew up in a post-apocalyptic, fascist world ruled by the Kree.
Right.
Honestly, being a serial killer, that's not high on the list of, that's not a deal breaker in Deke's world. You know, in Deke's world, it's like, okay, but is she nice?
Does she like me? Because not very many people do. So hey, that's a plus.
You know what? He comes on strong. He's got the same social awkwardness his parents do, but he also has the gift of gab, and that's the worst combination. We have social awkwardness and logorrhea. You know, if you keep on talking while you're socially awkward, oh, that's the worst thing. I know, because I got that too. You know, I am. In a scripted situation, it sounds fine, because I'm just like, oh, he's always got a story. He's got the gift of gab. But if you're socially awkward and trying to talk to a lady friend, that cannot be the best thing.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that Friends episode where the pizza delivery girl comes to the door and she mentions how she doesn't like her hair because it looks like an 8-year-old boy's hair, and he goes, well, I like it. Not that I like 8-year-old boys. Yes. And then he starts talking about methane.
Yes, that's our Ross. That was Ross, right? I'm just guessing that was Ross, yes.
Oh, yeah, completely. That's how the Gellers flirt.
Yes. they're not good at it. Is the moral of that story. Oh, anyway, so coming right along, we have and this is I love it. What I love about this episode, this is your classic Hitchcockian um, time bomb under this chair story, um, which is, funnily enough, a story Hitchcock never actually did. He did variations on it, which are similar to this, but he never actually did the because what Hitchcock would say is the most suspenseful story is you have a man sitting in a chair talking about baseball, and we, the audience, see there's a time bomb under his chair. And he's just talking about baseball, and we're seeing the time tick. And we're like, we have that knowledge that he doesn't. And this is the idea of the all suspenses. We have knowledge the victim doesn't. And we press to them, you must do something. But they just keep on in their way talking about baseball. And, you have to understand that the RBI is different when you're talking about the 1930s, 60s, and all this kind of stuff. And honestly, I think we can all admit, if anyone actually ever made that movie, that would be insane to watch because we would all be going crazy, but it would only be like a 10-minute movie. That's a short, and it would be beautiful. And it's too bad Hitchcock never made it because he did basically sum it up. But what he had done in many other situations is have the guy in the chair, unable to move, watching the clock go. In fact, there's several famous ones, and basically the big gag spoilers for both the original 60s and 80s reboot of Alfred Hitchcock. The thing is that the guy's watching the bomb tick, and then the fuse blows just before it hits the number. And then when the fuse blows, it doesn't go off, but the guy has a stroke from the stress. So,
oh, that's great.
Oh, it's and honestly, I'll tell you that you know that now. I've watched that thing like 6 times. Every time it comes on, I'm like, oh, I have to watch this again. This is so beautiful because it is so well shot. Because that's what Hitchcock does. But anyway, tell you those 80s Alfred Hitchcock presents. He was dead, but they're using his scripts. They're really good to watch.
I don't think I've ever seen them.
They're actually really good. And then you actually see the original 60s versions, and they're also good. And it's like they're good in different ways, but they're actually, it's why, you watch something like that and you realize why Hollywood does do remakes, because you realize that, wow, that was a great thing that someone did in the 60s, and now they're doing something else that's also really good based on the same premise.
It's almost like not just like technology wise, but as far as our understanding of how to tell stories, and that sort of advances as time grows as well.
Well, I actually got into a debate on Facebook with a guy today where he was basically what I said, because this was actually in regard to the upcoming Attack of the Killer Tomatoes reboot. Oh yeah, it's getting rebooted once again. And of course, if you're an Attack of the Killer Tomatoes fan, as I am, you're excited because when a cult property gets that kind of reboot, usually it's like, yay, because someone else is going to play in this fun universe that we love. Now, in other situations, people are like, oh, why do they have to reboot? Why do they have to And honestly, let's be honest, usually they're mad that they're rebooting it and something is inclusive that they didn't want to be inclusive, if we're honest. Although I have to say, not for nothing, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes was actually a very inclusive cast for something made in the 1970s. That wasn't explicitly a black exploitation film. They have a lot. I mean, everyone's a little different, but there is a black character, and he's actually like central to the plot and actually highly skilled in his job. It's actually kind of cool. And they actually brought him back when they did the cartoon. He was the master of disguise. And he'd put on like a funny wig and glasses and be like, who are you? Wait, Abraham Lincoln, what are you doing here? It's hilarious because it's ludicrous, but it's also perfect in the way they executed the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. And if they do not bring that character back in the reboot, I'm telling you right now, I am walking out of that theater. But I made the point at the time that every reboot, every time you see a play, it is a reboot. Because every live theater performance is based on the history before it. Whether that was last night's performance or the changing cultural norms of the day since the play was first produced.
Right, and every time they do a reboot, isn't it an effort to speak to a new audience? And if you are speaking to a new audience, should you not use their vernacular?
Exactly. This is my point as well. And so I love reboots. Not all reboots are good, just like not all films are good. You know, for every bad reboot, there's 100 other bad films that were just bad out of the gate. But that's a whole other story. But in this case, where were we? Yeah, so we have our classic man in a chair watching a time bomb kind of story, where we have Sarge. He's got control of the Zephyr. He's put up a wall to, keep Yo-Yo out. Although, of course, he abandons Snow.
Right.
He makes a run for it and he abandons Snowflake. And man, I gotta say, not for nothing, that was a big mistake on his part.
I mean, I can see it being a sound decision because that's, the understanding under which everybody came together to begin with. It's like part of being a soldier is, using your life for the good of the cause, because that's the greatest gift you have to give.
Okay.
No?
Well, let me say what you said and say it back to you. It's using your life
right
for the good of the cause.
Right.
Not someone else's life for the good of the cause.
No. But
and so
don't you go into it with the understanding that the reason you are a soldier is because you have made a choice to make your life expendable for the cause. And if the cause that you all signed up for was Sarge's cause, the strike mean little to all of them. I mean, I guess they mean something, but the reason they're there is for Sarge's plan. Well, he's the leader. So, I mean, I think it's like it's got to be understood at a certain level.
I know, but let me give you the flip side to this. Let's say Sarge didn't mention that he had an atomic bomb. And just said, oh, well, okay, so let's all get off the truck right now. I have a way we can all get off, you, me, Daisy, and everyone. We're going to get off. The truck is going to smash the tower, and that's going to destroy the strike. And then he says, look, we got to get out of here. Once those strikes are loose, we have to get out of here, And he probably could have played it. This is what I always say. If people use more guile, like Loki would, he could have blown up that bomb, and by the time he got there, by the time it all hit, he could have said, yeah, actually, no, there was an atomic bomb in there, and we need to get like 200 miles away. And honestly, maybe I wouldn't have cared if it all got destroyed once we were through it all,
Right.
Because, on his point, he's trying to get to the other side of the conversation. And his decision to abandon people and run with the idea that, yeah, I put a bomb on here, it's going to destroy everyone, it's giving too much away. Although, part of me wonders, given stuff we see next episode, if that doesn't rationalize it in some way, which we'll talk about when we get to next episode. I don't want to give away the spoilers for next episode. Episode. But in this case, yeah, I really feel that he just didn't think it through as well as he could have. That he could have.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, absolutely. But where I was coming from was like her incredulousness at his actions, and by extension, the doubt that was created in Jocko's mind because of it. I think. That was sort of unseemly of a soldier.
Well, except I don't think it is. No. I don't think it is at all. Because let me put it this way. You think about Frank Castle.
Right.
Would Frank Castle leave someone behind? Would, not for nothing, we just finished, Just Punishments. Could he have left that lady behind at any time? Could he have left the girl behind?
Right, but to him, in the world that he existed in his own mind, as he saw it at least, the world wasn't on the line. These were like, personal revenge stories that are yada, yada, yada. They were on a mission much larger to save an entire world.
Yeah, but again, as was pointed out to him, have you actually saved the world yet?
Right. No, he hadn't.
And to be honest, this is actually, I think, one of the central ideas in this. When the tower gets smashed, when everything occurs, all that happens is the strikes just go free. He hasn't killed any of them. And
right, no, but I guess his plan was if Izel had been there and it had exploded with her there, then the Shrike, would just fallen out of the sky or disintegrated or whatever happens to them.
If Izel had been, if the ship had been close enough, and that's the thing, it's like,
right.
Would the ship have been close enough? That's the crux. It's like It's a lot of timing that he's not. That, in my opinion, he's not timing out.
No.
It's like if he had timed it out, he would have waited for that ship to land, and he says, "Okay, now," and then we blow it up while he's there with everyone else.
Right.
And in that case, I am certain Snowflake would have been, "Yes, I accept this. I'm going to be a butterfly."
Right.
But when he says, "No, I'm leaving. You're staying. Sorry about that."
I don't know. I feel like, to me it was like that's your role. Like, when you're an offensive lineman, your job is to take the hit and protect your quarterback.
And
that's how I looked at it.
To be a billion points honest with this,
Hmm.
if that was Sarge's central plan, then he wouldn't have killed the shield agent who grabbed Snowflake.
How so?
Because he kills the shield agent because the shield agent has Snowflake, and to free Snowflake, he kills that shield agent, which is what precipitates the entire fallout. And had he not done that, had he said, I'll come back. So for example, had he told her, I'll come get you, and then ran, then you could say, yeah, sometimes we have to sacrifice for the cause, and we're going to get Snowflake back, but first we have to save this planet because there's not going to be a Snowflake to save if we don't save the planet. You can follow that line of logic. So he kills someone, which brings S.H.I.E.L.D. down on him, makes it an inherently complex fighting situation for him and S.H.I.E.L.D., expressly because he made the choice to kill the guy to save Snowflake.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're talking about two separate parts of a broader dynamic here. His decision making, right or wrong, is a separate thing from their reaction to being asked to give of themselves what they had, signed up to give.
Yeah.
No, do you see what I'm saying? I mean,
but again, like I have to say, I don't think anyone signs up to be a soldier to die. They sign up to be a soldier to kill. Or more importantly, to defend. You sign up to be a soldier to be a superhero, and no one thinks about their death when they sign up to be. Not for nothing.
Right, no, but that's that. But that is a part of it, and if you're not seeing it, that's your fault. As
well, yeah, but you know what? I don't think any of us would. I don't. Look, I am 45 years old. I still don't think about how much that I'm doing that's going to kill me. Every time I take a sip of beer, I don't think, oh, I'm trading my life for a moment of enjoyment. I'm thinking, oh, this beer's nice.
Yeah.
It is that complexity of life, and also there is this sense that there has to be a loyalty, and that they have lived through. They've lived through this loyalty. And Sarge has given Snowflake every reason to think that up until this point, he would be her protector. And for him to say, sorry, Snowflake, No, and as I said, as an example, he could have told them all, look, we have to go because this bomb is going to blow up. Or even he could say, we're going to be destroying the tower with a truck. We all have to go. I think everyone would have followed him out, and he would have said, look, if we don't destroy this, the Striker going to, something even worse is going to happen.
Yeah.
He didn't, like I said, he didn't have to tell them about the bomb. He just had to get out of that situation.
Yeah, I feel like Jocko knew about the bomb, though.
Well, yeah, Jocko knew.
Yeah.
Of course, Jocko knows everything.
Yeah.
Which is why we get our end scene with Jocko, where Jocko is the real hero.
Right. I always wanted him to be, because and they mention it in, I don't know if it's in this episode or the next one, but it's like, yeah, I'm real likable. I'm like, yeah, you are, Jocko.
Yeah, that's in this one,
Yeah.
because Jocko is like,
yeah.
Honestly, I'm going to tell you right now, because they made a point earlier on to say Jocko can survive anything.
Mm-hmm.
I am hoping he survives. I'm hoping, at the end of the season, it's going to be Jocko charred up, fall into earth, and go, okay.
I hope so.
Let me get on with this. I hope so. Jocko is too cool to
Yeah.
kill. How could you? Oh, I'm sorry. Spoilers. Jocko dies at the end. Honestly, Jocko is so amazing as a character, as a person. I mean, this is like Game of Thrones level stuff, where you get someone so loving a character and then you just kill him.
Yeah.
But they do. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that's the worst thing ever. He has a good death. He has a noble death. Although again, the kind of death that you have to say, well, did he have to? As an example, he's there to set off the bomb, right?
Right.
And he goes to the portal to set off the bomb.
Couldn't he have thrown the bomb?
Exactly. Thrown the bomb, hopped back to the portal, turned it off, ba-boom.
Yeah.
And you know what? And not for nothing, maybe he did.
True. Much like if anybody has seen the last season of Stranger Things, I'd like to believe Hopper jumped into the Upside Down.
Oh yeah. Actually, oh man. Okay. Spoilers for Stranger Things. Spoilers for Stranger Things. Spoilers for Stranger Things. Have you seen the final episode of Stranger Things yet? Yeah, I guess you have.
Yes.
Yes. They make a mention of when they go to the Russian facility. And I only know this because I saw someone else giving a spoiler review. Make a mention of, feeding in the Russian facility, feeding things to the whatever. And it says, no, not the American. And it's been suggested maybe the American is Hopper.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think they killed Hopper. Hopper had a bad season, but I don't think they killed him.
Yeah. People have been, complaining and whatever. I don't think it was a bad season for Hopper at all. I mean, we are talking about, the 80s. So it's like, you can't really.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's not right. It's not right to be a domineering alcoholic father because it's the 80s.
No. But we're not saying whether right or wrong, but we can't change the past and try to make it look rosier than it was.
I know, but again, it's like the reason people are mad at Hopper is because he is possessive. I mean, honestly, I was going to say his drunkenness is my least of his complaints. Mostly, I'm mad about the fact that he basically threatens to kill. Was it Will? He threatens to kill Will if he keeps on.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you don't do that.
Yeah, I agree.
He's very possessive of
11.
Mrs. Wheeler. Yeah. Well, of 11 and Mrs. Wheeler.
This is true, yeah.
And insanely jealous when she goes to
right. No, but I think the whole point is, it's fun to look at flawed characters, and then once they give us great stories, you can't be like, oh, blah blah blah. That's exactly what he was supposed to show you, and I don't know. People will just love to have something to complain about too.
Well, you know what it is. It's like the final season of Game of Thrones, and what is your name?
Daenerys.
Yeah, burning down the city. When she said she was going to burn down the city from the very start of it. And everyone's like, no, she should have shown mercy and da. This is freaking medieval post-apocalyptic world.
I guess.
Mercy gets you dead. And she has shown no mercy up until this point. She has shown no mercy. It's like when you say, oh, they surrendered. Yeah, surrendered to be werewolf battalion in her city for the rest of the occupation. That's a reference to Nazis. Nazis always, there was the idea of the Nazi werewolf battalion, which is that Nazis at the end of World War II would blend into German society and then, sabotage Allied efforts to retake the country. It failed, thankfully, but it was actually, it's documented that that's what their plans were. That was their hope that if they were ever defeated, they would become this pocket resistance force. Same for the Confederacy. The Confederacy said, if we ever get conquered, we can form small battalions and militias to do small raids to make the life of the Northern Alliance miserable, and that actually did work for them. So, history, it's fun. So yeah, I think her burning down the dang city was well within her rights as a conqueror, and I do feel that the final episode was bad, which I know is the majority opinion.
Right.
But that's why I think it was a bad idea for the majority of the opinion, which is that. Actually, no, I think it was a good idea. Well, I think let me rephrase it. I think it was a good idea from her perspective. It's a bad idea to people because people think it's a bad idea that you should be evolved beyond that. But thinking people will be evolved beyond that is a very big assumption. But anyway, back to this episode.
Right.
We get all over the place. Okay, so we have and I forget his name, which is so sad.
Pax?
The guy who took too many puffs on the ship.
The chubby little crew member?
No. Was it Matt O'Leary? No, Matt O'Leary. No, Matt O'Leary is the guy who actually could handle his puffs. No, it was the other pilot. There was Pip and the other pilot, and Piper and Agent Davis. That's it. Maximilian Osinski. I knew at the end of this episode he had been taken over by Azelle. Did you know that by the end of this episode?
I did not.
I had assumed so. I thought either she had hopped out in her strike form and jumped inside him, or whatever else. I knew that the second he got up there and she was gone, I knew that she had taken him over.
Yes, again, it's one of those things that would have been really, really helpful if Sarge had mentioned that. He's like, oh, yeah, that's how she does it. That's how she gets away. I was like, oh, thanks for the information now.
I get the feeling he didn't know. I think he figures it out in the next episode.
Oh. Well, in
the next episode, he goes, oh, that's how she always does it.
See, now, I took that to be like, yeah, that's how she always gets away. Like, I didn't think it was a revelation to him. It was more like, oh, that's right.
It's the case.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I want to get to this because the very big revelation in this episode. So, okay, so plotline. Heroes go up to the ship. They fight. Jocko goes back with the bomb. Okay, but prior to that, so the bomb doesn't explode, which I thought was amazing. Daisy uses her vibro powers to stabilize the crystal as it smashes the tower, and then she uses her vibro powers to totally decimate the Shrike as they come to attack her. Which, just a thing, I do not think they put enough Shrike in that scene.
No.
Yeah, not at all.
No.
It was a dozen Shrike, and there were clearly 500 Shrike there.
Yeah, it was like the Persians fighting the 300, and by the end of it, the 300 were only 300 Persians. And I was like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
Did you just reverse everything?
Exactly. It did not seem like enough that she killed. But I'm gonna give them the pass because we only have so much special effects budget.
Right.
I also didn't like the fact that after she destroys them, you don't see the crystals fall on the ground.
Indeed. But see, that's the one thing I've come to terms with this show is that they ask you to give them a lot of liberties. And sometimes you're just like, yeah, sure, fine, okay, whatever. It is that kind of show. They don't take themselves that seriously, and I'm more willing to let them go the more of these situations they put us in. Especially like in the next episode too, how they figure something out. It's like, oh, okay, now we've got it. And I was like, oh, okay, it required no detective work whatsoever.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I'm willing to accept it. Although I think that leaves open the door that if they wanted to say there were several strikes, they were like, I'm not falling for that.
Right.
Who broke away, and so there might still be strikes out there. But what, Tristan? What's your question? Yes, the elementals were not actually Molten Man and Hydro Man from the comic. No, well, elementals weren't Molten Man and Hydro Man in the comics. The actual elementals are actually they actually do exist in the comics, but they were actually created. They were essentially golems created by Diablo, who was an alchemist from the I want to say the 14th century, who fought the Fantastic Four in like issue 3 or 4.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. There is a Windman as well. They just didn't put him in the movie. Okay. Well, yeah, sort of. Yeah, it's a very big controversy in our house because they didn't do the wind elemental. They just did the earth, air, and fire. You see like a cloud elemental when Spider-Man triggers the thing, but then that's supposed to be all of the elementals
No,
combined.
but then I mean,
So,
if we're talking about like special effects budget, if you added an extra elemental, you would have to have a Captain Planet too. So I don't know.
yeah, well, you can't have the whole elemental. That's the problem. That's the most powerful elemental, man. He can control your mind, but he chooses not to. That's why he's a hero. Okay, moving right along. So here's the big thing about this
Okay.
episode. The big thing that everybody missed. Daisy and Mac are on the couch at the end at the after party.
Mm-hmm.
Daisy says a lot of new faces. That yeah, we had a lot of people. It's hard to keep morale up. Yada yada yada.
Ah.
And then she says, and he says, when are we going to get the debrief? And he says, as soon as you want to debrief, when you can tell me about all the adventures you had in space. He says, as soon as we schedule that debriefing. He says, okay, man. And then he says, the stuff you've seen in the last 5 years.
Mm.
Oh, man. And that's this, like, sudden statement of, wait, are they now saying it's 5 years later?
Ooh.
No. Yes. Because at the start of the episode, they said 1 year later. And then
I thought it was maybe just because somehow that 5 years was the snap or like.
Well, no. Well, that's the question. Is like, is he saying because we're going into this with the premise that everything we saw in the last episode of Agents of Shield took place pre-snap, but and so when they say 1 year later in this start of it, we're assuming they're saying this takes place 1 year after the snap. But that is an assumption on our part. It is possible that everything we see in that last, 10 minutes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is over a prolonged period of time. They just don't highlight the snap. They're highlighting what they're doing. And if you think about it, we're going to retrofit a Zephyr plane to be a spaceship to go into space with an incredibly small crew of 4 people to go on this crazy journey for a year. Is it 1 year later, or did all of that take a long period of time? Now, there's the counter argument that said this is season 6, so when we say it is 5 years, when he says 5 years, he means since the start of the series, and now we're in season 6. But then, if it's a year later, it would have been 6 years. So you see how we have this this conflict here. I actually think that was a left-handed way of them saying this now takes place in the post third snap timeline. To say this is 5 years.
Interesting.
That this is that, and I actually predicted this. I actually said this a while ago that at some point you were going to get something to acknowledge Endgame, but they weren't going to do it in the first couple episodes. And so in the first couple of episodes, they just did what they did, and then we have to jump ahead, and then we're going to get the answer of this is actually 5 years later. So that's my big belief. I think they were in space much longer than 1 year. And that's where we're at. So that's my big belief. I'm going to try and write a blog post about it, but that's what I'm thinking on this. What do you all think at home? Any final thoughts on tonight's episode, Mozz?
Oh no, I'm totally, and it's a shame that they're ending it after next season. Although I'm kind of excited about what that means and what sort of free reign it gives the writers to go even more nuts. Because I think the joy of this show really is they found a niche where, okay, fine, MCU, you don't want to be connected to us. We're just going to use this as a catapult to tell interesting stories on our own.
Well,
And that's what I'm excited about.
And I'll give you another take on that. It could just be that they want to end this so they can use these characters in other properties. Because these are these great characters and they want to use them. I still think Mockingbird's going to show up somewhere before the end of all of this. Because they're opening up this Disney Plus and they have these established characters. And they know geeks and nerds and fans love established characters showing up and crossing the continuity line. But we'll get into all of that later. But in the meantime, Mozz, if people would like to talk to you about this episode, next episode, or any other episode that's on their mind, how can they find you?
Oh, they can find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor or email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And of course, if you'd like to write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our Mozz and Poms once did, you can do so. Poms and Moms, sure, hey, you got to use those gender-neutral pronouns. That's what I say. At superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I got to do last night, which was wonderful for the next episode. Because we didn't record any of these other shows I do at that time. Follow me at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Ding!
There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us once again as we follow the brave adventures of the men, women, and other beings who defend our world against danger. And at the end of the day, when all of the villains have been defeated, what more can we say except
Nuff said.